the Baltimore Ravens stopped their practice because they just had two significant knee injuries on both, one on each side of the ball. If you've been following the Ravens, this has really been the story of their preseason has been injuries at running back. They've already lost two running backs to injuries. And then moments ago, it passed on Twitter, Gus Edwards, fear is torn ACL. But you're like, okay, they have Lamar Jackson. It's a running back. You can find a running back on the street. And then it looks like, and Dan Byer, tell me if I'm wrong, Marcus Peters, significant injury on the defensive side of the ball.
Yes,
correct?
that's the report that he also, the team fears, suffered an ACL injury.
It's just, that's tough news. And so in the short term, things that you got to look at is maybe you go more all in on Lamar Jackson in terms of his stats because he's going to have to run it more. Maybe you bet the over because they're going to have to score more to beat the Raiders this weekend. Maybe it changes your fantasy play. Yesterday we said Le'Veon Bell. We both stay away from Le'Veon Bell. Now Le'Veon Bell may be active for the opener.
Yeah, this is, you mentioned Lamar Jackson maybe being more of a factor, but remember as well that Lamar Jackson missed some time in camp after testing positive again because of COVID. And Adam Kaplan, friend of the show, Fox Sports Radio insider, joins me on the Sunday show with George Reister. He said that the Ravens had wanted to put more in for Lamar Jackson when it comes to the passing game in the playbook, and his absence did play a role in that. And then so maybe some of that possible growth was stunted because of his absence, and now you throw all this on top of it. Rashad Bateman, their first round pick, is also hurt. So yeah, it's tough enough to recover from your top three running backs suffering season-ending injuries. And then what do you do after that? No team could really recover from that, and to think that anything could be better, I'm not so sure.
They have one of the oddest schedules you're ever going to find. I don't know if you saw this, okay? So they open in Vegas against the Raiders, which it's going to be a zoo. Before injuries, they're a far more talented team. Am I wrong, than the Raiders? Raiders still searching for something.
Yeah.
Then they get Kansas City at home, a team who that's been their nemesis. They've been unable to beat, but they do get them at home. Then they go to Detroit. Detroit stinks, and then to Denver. Denver plays a lot of early season games at home. So 3 of their first 4 are on the road. Granted, 3 of them against non-playoff teams from last year. Then they come home, and they actually have 4 consecutive home games with a bye week. Right? Indy, Chargers, Cincy, bye week, Minnesota. Then they go 4 of 5 on the road. They have the weirdest, actually it's 5 of 7 on the road. And then they finish with 3 or 4 at home. They got one of the weirdest schedules I've ever seen.
I sometimes look, I don't know if it's half full or half empty when you're looking at the glass when it comes to the Ravens schedule. But if I was a Ravens fan, how I would look at this, Doug, is, you do have the Chiefs, but you have the Lions. The first 3 games, 2 of them you felt pretty good about. Raiders and Lions. Now, if you're having to adjust on the fly and have no sort of idea how things are going to play out, Monday night looks like it's a much tougher task, and then you have the Chiefs after that. They should still be able to beat the Lions, but you never know. It's almost like you'd rather have a gauntlet of teams to run through than maybe a couple of cupcakes, so then you could at least have some sense of how you're going to navigate the season.
No question. It completely changes my look at that Raiders game. I would also say this. This is perfect for Lamar and for the Ravens because I don't care how good your rushing attack is and how great your offense is at running the football. Backups are backups for a reason. You start to get to they've lost 3 running backs for the year. 3. Le'Veon Bell, it's not like Andy Reid forgot football. Le'Veon Bell is not the same guy. And that doesn't mean they settle on Le'Veon Bell for the rest of the year. But the idea that they're going to have anywhere near the same running game is hard to believe, which will put more pressure on Lamar as a passer, which is the big question about Lamar moving forward. And then you factor in, you lose Marcus Peters, who they move mountains to trade for. And that's been the big thing is, hey, the offense, it shortens the game, it puts pressure on the defense, but the defense is Super Bowl caliber. Now you lose, the talent of a guy like Marcus Peters. And, that changes things up a little bit.
Remember when the Seahawks a few years ago, when Chris Carson went down and they had lost Rashad Penny earlier, that they had to sign Marshawn Lynch?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you're just hoping to navigate a couple of games. They were going into the playoffs as well, but you're just, okay, how can we figure this out and get some sort of rhythm or figure out a way to make it work? And this is now a 17-game season. And to your point about Le'Veon Bell, and really to your point about anybody else they bring in, Todd Gurley, if they want to bring him in, there's a reason why these guys are out there. If there was true value, they would be on a team entering week one. I just think it's extremely difficult. And I actually think that we don't even get a real read on Lamar Jackson now because of all this. I mean, it's too much going to be put on his plate to have to carry, this team. I mean, if he's stellar, Doug, maybe that tells us, more about him. But if he struggles this season, I don't know how much we can blame him, considering they're down to running back number 4 and their first round pick as a wide receiver is, on the shelf. So I don't know how much of a read we're going to get on him.
They're a mess. They're a mess. And by the way, Marquise Brown has not been nearly what he was advertised to be. Plus, it's hard with the limited targets you're going to get in this offense. Sammy Watkins is their number 2, and Sammy Watkins has been on 3 teams in the NFL already. Each one of those teams, the Bills fell out of love with him. Eventually, with the Rams, he became their fourth best wide receiver, their 4th option, and the same with the Chiefs, right? Mm-hmm. I could be wrong. And this is a very well-run organization. When things go right, it's awesome. But the problem with this style of football is things have to really go right.
Yeah.
What are you going to say? I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, I was going to say, you take the playoff picture in the AFC. We've talked about how many teams actually have a chance at making the playoffs, and there are a bunch. And now, I mean, this is going to be a very, very tall task. It's not like they can navigate, maybe get in as the 7th seed. Now you have New England we think is going to be better. We expect the Chargers to be better. I expect Denver to be better. Who knows with Pittsburgh, but right now I'd rather be in Pittsburgh's case than Baltimore's for sure.
Yeah, I mean,
and I wasn't like that at the start of the day, honestly.
No, totally. Me either. We discussed. Pittsburgh is a big unknown. Cincinnati thinks their defense is much better, but they're a big unknown. Cleveland, we just don't know how if they can be consistent. But God, this changes the whole AFC.